Carlos has prepared a masterclass on innovation, strategy, execution, and impact that can help you to achieve more, fulfill your purpose and your potential, and integrate well-being, impact, and economic prosperity for you and for your organization. Carlos has already lectured in 19 different universities and business schools in different countries and inspired more than 35,000 people from more than 164 countries in event sessions and lectures. He mentors professionals of all ages from all over the world, and we have with us 100 students from India, Business School India, RIM, and all of you are welcome to stay. The most common thing people say about Carlos' lectures is that their lives changing. And with this, I say goodbye until next time. And without first, thank you all so much for being here. Bye.
Thank you all so much. And I am just so moved that you have been with us today. I am really, really honored, and we are here for you guys. We organized this meeting to share with you some of our ideas, but more importantly, to connect and to just be together and grow together in the coming years. So you are going to have our information at your disposal, and we're going to create connections and try to be as useful as possible. But again, I wanted to thank you all so much for being here. Give it up for yourselves. Thank you so much. We're here for you guys. Thank you so much. Really, we really, really appreciate it. And now, of course, guys, you've been here for more than 4 hours, and I am just so grateful. But I guess most of you haven't even eaten or haven't dinner. You need to rest. So please, if you want to rest, now is the time. Rest. We're going to do the lecture, but you don't have to stay. If you want, if you're interested, I'm going to be here. Continue with that. But please don't feel forced. You have been so supportive, and we're just so grateful. And before I start the lecture, I think I have my friend Ahmad Mohammed from RIM Pune from India. That was he's a great friend. Also someone that I have already had the opportunity of collaborate with, and also with their university and business school. And it is wonderful to have their students here today with us. Also, I wanted to thank the chairman of RIMPIN, Suraj Sharma, and last but not least, thank again to Pablo Rivas, the CEO of Global Alumni, a company that is hosting us today in this incredible space, the virtual reality. Thank you so much to Nico, to Miguel, to Luis, to all the people involved. You have helped so much. Javi as well, and Pedro, and all of you guys. You have been amazing. Thank you to Angela, to Wendy, to Rodrigo, to everybody that has made it possible, and Marina, that you have been contacting as well. And of course, Jaime Torres, our design lead. Look at the designs done by Jaime and Javi. We're just so thankful to all of you. Guys, now we're going to have the session, but first I wanted to say hi to our friend Ahmad Mohammed. Guys, can you raise your hand in Zoom, please?
No, yes, I'm here. Hello.
There you go. Just wanted to have him to say hello. There you go.
Hello, Carlos. Am I audible?
It was
a wonderful session, Carlos. First of all, I want to congratulate WIA and you and your team for doing the fantabulous job you have done today. And all the participants, all the speakers, they were awesome. It was a great, huge success. And the students of RIM Pune who has joined from from IST, it has started from 2:30 and they're still there and they're waiting for your masterclass also. So thank you very much, Carlos. I'm Professor Ahmed. I'm from RIM Pune. I teach economics to the students. I'm also a global young leader and a youth advocate for sustainable development at United Nations Economic and Social Commission. So thank you for inviting me, and thank you, Carlos. And we will have a long-term association with YIA, and we are into training with YIA with Carlos, and we have n numbers of these programs coming up. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you for the MOU, and we are good to go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you so much. So again, I am grateful and honored, and I'm going to start as I always do, asking you to send us our questions. Your questions, any doubt, anything you would like me to talk about or focus on, because it is important that I provide value to you, and the only thing that matters to me is that I am useful. So let's start with the questions as well. Many times I just do the whole session directly with questions. Okay, so I don't even do a lecture at all. So if you have any questions or you have to say you want to say something, please do that. I'm going to be looking at it, and we're going to make it a conversation as much as possible. Also, with that being said, again, for everybody that is still here, thank you so much. Please leave your contact details, your plans, share with us what you're doing. We have an email available that is wa@wa.world, and also my own personal email, which is carlos.sentis@wa.world. You can send any project idea, collaboration opportunity, anything you want to do, whatever help you need, anything that you think we can be useful with, please do that, and share everything in the comment. But again, I cannot stress enough how much I am, how grateful I am to all of you. And I think I'm not going to use a PowerPoint at all. So we just for the production team, I'm going to play around. If I need the PowerPoint, I will let you know. Okay, guys? Okay. So for now, I'm just going to start seeing if there are questions. And I will start by saying that in order to achieve our goals, we need to have a project. And we need to have a project that is independent from whatever we're doing at this moment. So I'm going to explain to you what I mean by that, but I think it is important to start thinking about what is your vision, right? What is the vision of what you want to accomplish in the long term? That was mentioned before. So what we see is that on the one side, you see the impact that you want to make in the world. We've been talking about that, but also you see the kind of work that you want to do. What industries do you want to work in? What kind of life do you want to have? What are your expectations as well? And we see as well that we need to take care of our own well-being, because you may be very successful and make a lot of money, but if you're not taking care of your physical and mental health, it is not going to be something that is going to be sustainable, right? And you're going to crash at some point. It's going to be painful. So we need to find some sort of balance, right, between well-being, impact, and prosperity. And the reason why I say that is because in the moment that you know where you want to go, it is way easier to create a strategy to get there, right? You just need to know that for you, working on education is important, or working in healthcare is important, or that you want to create your own company, or you want to have a fashion brand. Whatever it is important that you know where you're going, because otherwise you're never going to feel ready. You're never going to be in a position that is good enough for you to just simply fulfill your dreams. Now, it is not even about dreams at all. It's just about having an action plan. We need to know exactly where we're going, so we have a strategy, and then, of course, we have to be flexible to get to that goal, because things are going to change. The world is going to change. There will be challenges, but you're going to be in a position in which you have the capacity of adapting, being flexible with the path, but being absolutely clear on what is the end goal. In my case, for example, well, my goal, I think it's clear. I want to make the biggest positive impact that I can with my work. What I want to help. And how many people do I want to help? Well, as many as possible. I would like to help everyone. I can't. But I know that my goal is to be useful. So what I build, everything that we're doing has to do with that. Is, okay, what is the best way I can be as useful as possible to as many people as I can, right? And that helps me to guide my steps. Now, am I clear of what's going to happen every single step? No, I don't know what's going to happen. I didn't know this was, today was going to happen. I just do my best to keep moving forward towards that goal, and I adapt when things don't make sense, when things don't work. I understand failure, I understand rejection, and I just try to adapt and continue moving forward. My contributions may be more focused on education now and then in healthcare. Maybe we focus more in the environment in the future. The most important thing for me is that I am always doing my best to fulfill my potential. And what is my potential and what is your potential? Well, that is a very important question, I think. And I don't know if you have actually asked yourself that question, because most of us underestimate our own ability to grow, to create, to connect, to achieve. We're able to do so much more than what we normally think. In my entire career, I've been limiting myself, thinking that I was only able to do this much. And then when I proved myself that I could do more, then I decided to do another step. But if you think about it, the most important resource that you have is your own self-confidence. Because if you're not confident, if you don't think that you can do something, you don't even try. If you are putting very low expectations, if you're putting very low targets, then you are not going to surpass that, most likely, right? And it's clear that happens to all of us. We keep limiting ourselves. We think, okay, maybe I am able to just get a job. It's like, no, maybe you can get a job that you really want. Maybe you can create a job for yourself. Maybe you can create a company, or maybe you can work for different organizations, or maybe you can focus your entire life on social impact. But the question is, what is your actual limit, right? And of course, you don't have to exhaust yourself, but at least you have to give yourself the chance to ask, well, maybe I'm more than what I think. Maybe I'm more than the surroundings that I have. Maybe I am more than the things that I have done in the past. Maybe I am everything that I have ever been and everything that I will be. And today is the moment in which I do everything I can to move forward, to be better. And knowing that I'm never going to be perfect, I know at least that I'm going to be able to grow, that I'm going to try to be better, that I'm going to keep walking no matter what. Do you know how much rejection I get every single day? People that don't answer to your messages, people that don't come to your events. There's unlimited risk and problems and challenges that you can face, but at the same time, there's unlimited opportunity. And it is up to you to decide, what are you devoting your entire life to? Do you want to work for 20 or 30 years in one company that you don't even like? Do you want to do things that make you feel bad inside? Do you want to just focus on making money and never actually fulfilling your dreams? Well, I think that we have an opportunity to use our resources to do much more, especially now that we have the internet, we have all kinds of resources, we can connect with many people. Let us actually focus on what can be most valuable in our lives and move forward as fast as we can. And I say that because life flies, and it is very easy that we actually waste a big part of our lives just wondering what would have happened if I did what I wanted to do. Let us not have regrets. Let us go to the end of our lives, look backwards and think, you know what? The reality is that I did everything I could. You know, I enjoyed, I tried to be happy, I tried to take care of my family, I tried to be a good person. I tried to do the things that I wanted to do. Now, am I perfect? Are you perfect? Is anyone ever going to be? Never. But you need to be confident, and you need to be able to set long-term goals, because whatever you want to achieve is going to require time. It's going to require patience. It's going to require determination. And it doesn't matter, you know, you have time. We are going to have very, very long lives now. We have a lot of time. You know what it means to be working for 4, 3, or 10 years on one project? The opportunities that you can create. But many times we fail to realize that when we start a venture, when we start a project, if we're not successful in the first months, we just think that it's not working. And we need that to change, right? We just think, well, maybe the idea is not good. Maybe the concept, maybe I just have to change, or maybe I'm not a good entrepreneur, or maybe I should just settle for less, right? Now, if you think about it, when we see these amazing overnight success stories, well, it looks like they just did it super fast because they're growing faster now, maybe in whatever aspect of whatever success means for everybody, for every one of us. But the reality is that most of those companies, or most of those projects, although most of those ventures have required up to 10 or 20 years to be there. You know, we think about Amazon, or we think about Microsoft, or we think about even the work that international organizations do. It is not 1 year, I can promise you that. We've been working on WIA for 4 years, full time. and we're kind of like starting now, So you have to be patient, and not because I am accomplishing anything, because we haven't really done anything useful or important yet. But the most important thing to know is that if you know where you're going, you're every day one step closer. If you fail one day, or if you don't do things the way you want, you always have the opportunity to start again next day. Every day is a new opportunity to start again. Now, how are we going to fulfill our potential and our purpose, and how can we integrate all that? Well, there's a few things that I always share and that I think are very important for all of you. And it doesn't matter if you're working in the third sector, if you're working in the public sector, whoever you are, you're going to need network. Okay, you're going to need to be connected to as many people as possible. It is going to be super important in the process of your career, in the process of your ventures. And a lot of times we are not taught how to talk to people, how to create connections, how to engage with others. And so it is really sad, that many people have great ideas that never get to the right place. That you just never get to talk to the person that could make whatever you're trying to do a reality. And in order to create those networks, we need to be very proactive. And we need to be very, very happy and comfortable in uncomfortable situations. What that means is that you're going to struggle many times. It's going to be difficult. But if you're comfortable with rejection, then you're comfortable with going to talk to people. I wouldn't be able to talk to all of you guys today if we weren't proactive, right? And of course, there's a lot of times where if you're pitching, for example, for a startup and you want to get investment, obviously there's going to be a lot of rejection. If you're selling a product or a service, rejection. And if you're looking for a job, rejection. You're looking for a spouse, rejection, right? So if we're able to deal with rejection properly, if we are able to make it not affect us or affect us less, if we're comfortable in that kind of situation, then life is just so much better because you're willing to go to talk to people and you realize that most people are amazing. And even if they weren't going to be kind to you, it's okay. It's okay. People are busy, but you have to do what you have to do in order to accomplish your goals if those goals are valuable and worth pursuing. Okay, so what that means is that if you know where you're going, then you can define that strategy. And that strategy is always, always, always going to require people. You're going to need clients, partners, employees. You're going to need providers and all sorts of people along the way to help you. So if you don't have the capacity of creating a network, then I encourage you to learn about it, how to talk to people, start doing it, start adding people, even on LinkedIn, go to events, go ask friends to introduce you to other people. Make sure that you have something valuable to offer. Make sure that you're having the kind of attitude of giving more than taking. You go there, you try to be useful for as long as it takes. You don't expect anything in return. You're okay with rejection, and you keep doing that over and over again for all the rest of your career. Now, you may think that is exhausting. It's like, well, how certain are you that if you apply for a job, you're going to be able to actually get that opportunity, right? You apply, maybe you send a resume, and normally what happens is that no one gets back to you. Sometimes you're selling a service or a product, and most people are not going to come back to you. Okay, so the critical element of networking, public relations, communication with people, and sales, negotiation, that is absolutely vital for us to connect with others and to create value. And I wanted to share one of our models of network creation for you to have for your own projects. The same way we're building it here, I've been designing this for a very long time, and I think it's going to be useful for you. Okay, so the first thing is you have the vision. You can define a strategy where there are steps forward that you can take talking to the right people. Now, if you don't know what the right people are, you need to think about it. What type of stakeholders should you be talking to? In our case, because we believe in the potential of every person and every organization to make a greater future, then we engage with all types of stakeholders, right? We have different sectors, and we talk to companies, institutions, media, influencers. We need every person that we can so we can work together, okay? But that is not a business strategy. That is not a good career development strategy or a professional focus, right? You need to have a certain, I would say, clarity on who is the ideal person that you're going to be talking to. Okay, so that means that if you know that you need investors, well, you absolutely need to connect with as many investors as possible, right? Because there's no way the first one is going to just invest, right? So you're going to need to talk to what, 100? Great. So you should start going to as many events as possible and getting the community so you have the opportunity to talk to those investors, because otherwise it's going to be impossible, right? Same thing applies to sales in whatever product or service you're trying to sell. And when you're setting yourself, when you're trying to create a personal brand or a personal positioning so you can get the job that you want with the conditions that you expect, something that is fair and that is something that you would be happy with, then you're going to have to talk to a lot of people. And the possibility of you getting hired or you getting the right contract or the right opportunity, if you know people there, and if you don't know there, well, it's just so different, guys. It's just so different. You need to have people everywhere. And the reason why I say that is because many times it's not even about your resume. It's not about your credentials. It is not about your degrees or masters or whatever impressive Photoshop skills you may have. All you need is to be as valuable as possible in the field that you want to the people that can need your support, and talk to them for long enough so they understand the value that you can provide. Right? So the formula is pretty clear now. It's just easier saying it than doing it, but it is possible. And you can do things that you would never imagine. Things that you thought you would need to first work for 10 years and then start your venture. What I'm suggesting to you is that you start your venture now, because you're going to need 5 or 10 years anyways, right? To get to a certain position in which you have clients, providers, operations, whatever thing running, right? You're going to need those things. You're going to need time. So instead of saying, one day I will be ready to do something, let us just say, I am going to make myself ready every day, right? And you know that when you have, imagine that you have goggles that are yellow, for example. The whole world presents itself to you as yellow, right? It's a filter. Well, the same way a woman that is pregnant, for example, sees babies everywhere and people that are pregnant as well everywhere, it's obvious that when you have the goggles of your vision, the whole world manifests itself as an opportunity for you to achieve your goals. Everything. Suddenly, everything is a good idea, an inspiration, a good contact, something that can be valuable for you. And it would be really useful if you just had that project that I was talking about. If you had this opportunity to put all those resources, all those ideas, thoughts, writing them down and putting them in the bucket of your life project. And that life project can be, again, something that you do also inside of a company. It can be outside of a company. It can be something that you do for a non-for-profit. It can be also having a baby or whatever you want. But you having that bucket of your project allows you to get all those opportunities. Just think of the following. Imagine that you spend 10 years working in banking, for example, and you think that at some point you will be ready to create your own startup, right? So for those 10 years, you are just doing the job that they asked you to do. And you think anything that could go for the startup or whatever idea, because I'm not doing it now, I will do it in the future, right? And I think I'm gonna need investment. I'm gonna need a lot of things, and because I don't have them, I don't think about it, I put it up. So you just do your banking job. And then 10 years go by, now you're tired, you probably are not necessarily so confident and so excited about work and career anymore. Maybe you are, but one thing is for sure, the last 10 years, you have been working in something that other people told you. And if you're gonna start a startup, even if it has to do with banking, a lot of the things that you did were not useful for that. And a lot of the people that you could have met those years, a lot of the opportunities that you could have gotten, all of that is lost. Now, obviously, there's no reason to just regret anything. I'm just saying that the sooner you know where you're going, the better you're going to be able to direct yourself. And so that's why I want all of you to have your project to think, okay, what would I want? And in order to do that, I think it's important to connect a couple of dots. What are your skills, your talents, the things that you feel comfortable doing, the things that you like, what are those capacities that you have? And secondly, what are needs that exist in the market? What are needs that exist in the world? And then you can combine them in a very unique way. Now, let me ask you one question. Is there any possibility that someone just comes to you and says, hey, I have this opportunity for you. This is exactly where you want, how you want, and you're going to do exactly what you wanted based on your skills. It's impossible to get that kind of opportunity. It really is. Even if you think that it's perfect, I think it is 70% of professionals want to leave their companies at any point. So, and you have the Great Resignation with 5 million people leaving their companies. There's no way you're going to like everything about a job. It's impossible because you have to work hard to go places, right? There's things that are not pleasant. But if you do what you really care about, if you do the best you can do to really align yourself with that particular venture that you're working on, then it is just much more possible that you enjoy a big part of your life, right? Not only the time outside of your work, but also that you can enjoy work and that you feel that you're not even working. But again, all that time that you are working, it doesn't matter if you're preparing the project in the background. You don't have to tell people, or you could, you can, every time you have an idea, you put it there. You have an idea of the name, you put it there. Every time you meet someone, you put it there, right? So you don't even have to kind of like formally start anything. You're just working on it. It's not, I have an idea that could happen. It's more, I am working on something that has not proven to, I would say, be ready yet, or that has been successful in whatever terms that you put to yourself. Okay, so what I mean by that is that you may think that you need to have X revenue per year, right? And that's kind of like your goal. And then you don't get to that goal that you think that you failed, or you think that in order for you to kind of like launch your project, you have to be in a certain position. What I'm suggesting to you is, if you don't feel that you have financial stability or the freedom to actually just focus entirely on your own personal projects, what I would suggest is that you keep doing the work that you do, or you find a job as close as possible to the field that you want to work on, and slowly but surely you keep adding stuff in that project for your life. Again, I'm not even suggesting that everybody has to be an entrepreneur. What I'm saying though is that everybody needs to have a possibility of not depending on one particular company, or being at the mercy of companies that may or may not respond to you, because companies are busy, HR departments are busy, and you can throw curriculums and resumes everywhere, but still it's going to be difficult to get the attention just by virtue of your accomplishments. Even people that are remarkable, not only in their credentials, but also as individuals, have difficulties to find jobs. There's people that have even a PhD and they're working in stores and they're not getting the kind of recognition or the kind of remuneration that they should. What that suggests is that it is not enough only with being good or with doing things properly or with having a good product or a good service or a good invention. Whatever it is not enough, because you need connections, you need communication, and you need time. So I'm going to go directly to questions because I think we have a couple, or that's what I feel, because I think the team is trying to tell me something. Okay, so love the honesty there, Carlos. It ain't easy okay, thank you. Thank you for that, Devon. I see that Devon is saying that in terms of creating network of strategic partners that are affected towards offering services, mentorship, funding, okay, so this is the question. What route of forming partnerships and with what requirements have you found necessary to pitch to those potential partners? Okay, so I'm sorry because I cannot read properly while I'm talking. So the idea is the following. You do what you can with what you have to go where you want to go. So where are you at right now? How ready is your project? What I would say is, no matter what kind of partnership you're trying to build, you're going to need to have some sort of presentation. I think that's pretty clear. A lot of people are very uncomfortable in the beginning because they think that they need to have investment. Wrong, you don't. An office. Wrong, you don't, especially now. That you're going to need a partner. You don't. You can have partners, but you don't need to have co-founders that if something goes wrong, maybe you have to stop something that you've been doing for a very long time. And that there's stories like that all the time. And so you don't need a lot of the things that a lot of people think you need when you start. What you need is to make sure that you have a value proposition, you have a presentation, so you can explain to others, and so you go with whatever you have at that point. Now, one of the things that is very important is that if whatever you're requiring from the other side is something that demands specific certifications and you don't have them, well then don't bother. Make sure that you get the certifications before you go talk to them. Same thing applies to, for example, let's say that you want investment. And when you're going to pitch for an investment, you're absolutely going to need certain presentations and pieces of evidence and data, and you have to work on your startup or whatever you're trying to pitch. So if you don't have the right materials that are essential, because they are definitely going to require that, then you should not go directly, okay? But in terms of what is expected, it depends on who you're talking to. If you're talking to a friend that owns a company, you may not need anything, just to prove that you're gonna be helpful and that person trusts you. If they don't trust you, it doesn't matter what you have, right? So it's not exactly about what is exactly the requirements for a partnership. It's more the capacity of adapting to whatever situation you're in and trying to see, am I ready to do this or not, right? So am I ready to present this or not? And if you think that what you're offering is not clear, if you're not sure about what you're offering, if you're a little bit all over the place with ideas, which happens to me all the time, then it's better to stay back for a second until you know and you gather your thoughts and say, you know what, I can be useful like this, and I can be useful to this person, and I'm going to try to reach out to that person. And they may say, you're not ready, or we want you to have more clients and partners or experience. And so the reason why I'm saying that is because no matter what you're trying to build and where you're trying to go, you're always going to face the same problem, which is everybody's going to expect from you to already be completely successful in what you're doing. Right? They're going to expect you to be have 30 years of experience in an entry job, because companies want you to have experience and they want you to be young and not have and not have a lot of expectations. But they want you to have experience because it's better to have experience than not have it, right? And in general, I think that is something that happens to us. I've been working in portfolio building for more than 10 years. We have worked for 130 large companies and institutions. And still people tell me that they think it's not enough. It's like, well, okay, I'm trying, man. And a lot of times what happens is that they would ask you for very specific examples of your work in that field. And what you can say is, well, let me prove to you that we can do it, because we haven't done it yet exactly like this, because we are designing this for you. And so I cannot tell you that I have already worked for you doing that thing, because I haven't. What we can do is we can prove you that we can do it. And if you want, we can do it even for free if needed. Now, a lot of people are against the idea of pro bono, working for free, volunteering, non-paid internships by default. And of course, yeah, it's better. It's better that people make a living. The question is, are you really sure that you can make money out of every single thing that you do in your life? I don't think so. In my case, 90% of what I do is non-for-profit. Now, there is an element of business and I need to have clients. If I don't have clients, I suffer, right? But the reason why I'm saying this for that question is because, again, you do what you can with what you have. You go, talk, present, and if for whatever reason they think it's not enough, you try to prove them that it is, or you try to make it enough. And you keep improving yourself as an individual and an organization. You keep improving. You have to upskill yourself constantly. You have to keep trying to be the best version of yourself, but also the best version of whatever project you can do, right? So you're thinking about whatever initiative. Is the brand right? Is the operation that is behind going to work? Are you doing something that everybody is doing, or something that is pretty unique? right? And if you answer those questions and you start improving the project, then every time you talk to someone, it becomes easier. And the more things you do, even if it's for free, the more things you do, the more portfolio you get, the more experience you get, the more case studies, and so people trust you more. And also you have a better network, and they trust you as well, and they talk about you to other people. So all of that is really important. So you need to just keep improving that material, that whatever you have, but you really need to have some sort of presentation. Right? So if you ask me what would be the minimum that you need in order to do anything, say you really need to have a presentation, okay? Whatever, a PowerPoint, video, at least one sheet of paper just saying, this is what I do, this is how I can provide value, this is what I am asking you to do, and this is why you should do it, right? Something like that, at least to have a very clear value proposition. I think that would be very, very important in the minimum. And then if you talk to large organizations, they're going to require more, right? And that's something that makes it more difficult. The larger the organization, sometimes there's more bureaucracy and more requisites, but it doesn't matter. You just keep going forward. If you know you want to go work for some specific sector, company, institution, you want to work for the government, it doesn't matter. It's all possible. You can do it. You just need to know that you want to do it. And you need to know that the why that is driving you makes sense. What I mean by that is that if you don't know exactly why you're pursuing that particular work, imagine that you say, I want to make a difference, and that's why I want to work in my local government, because I think I'm going to be able to help a lot of people there, right? And because you care about your local community. And it's like, well, yes, it's true that you could have a potential impact in the local government, but it is also possible to make an impact in the local community or even in a greater space outside of the government. So don't make the tools that can allow you to go forward to become your goals. Your goal is to achieve the impact, the life, the well-being, the kind of the kind of well-being for yourself that you want. That is the goal, right? Helping people, doing this, working on things that I like, that is the goal. Having a life that is actually worth it, that is valuable, a life that I'm proud of, okay, that is the goal. Being at peace with yourself, sleeping well at night, having a good relationship with your family, well, that should be a part of the goal as well, right? So if you know the goal, then you can think of all the other things. Sometimes people get obsessed with, I need to get a degree from this university, or I need to get this particular job, or I have to speak here or do this. It's like, those are just steps. Those are just tools and resources. It is not the actual end goal. It is not the end game. Because what's going to happen is if you go there and you get there, you're going to feel that you haven't changed, that it's not enough for you. You're going to feel that that was not what you were looking for, what was missing. Because there's a lot of suffering in the world, and there's a lot of suffering in one person's life, and there's a lot of expectations. And what we really appreciate, what we really, really want, is the feeling of progress, going forward and feeling proud of ourselves and aligned with ourselves with our own values. So be sure that you don't confuse the things that allow you to get to places with the places that you want to go, okay? If you have any other questions, please do ask me, okay? I'm going to go and maybe talk about, yeah, thank you so much, Devon, for that and for the question. So I'm going to continue talking about things that I believe are very important for your development and for your career, but I would like to first know better, who am I talking to? Because I see people from different countries, I see people that we have from different backgrounds. So can you give me some random, if not questions, at least words that can let me know what you care about, what you like, what you would like, what you're doing? Please use the chat, and I will try to use that as a guidance as well, okay? Great, so I will go back to the questions as soon as I see something that I can talk about, okay? So we are talking about the purpose, right? We're talking about the potential. We're talking about the path, how to get to places. We're talking about the importance of being able to connect with others, and also the importance of communication, right? Because you need to be able to communicate clearly your message. If you talk about your project and people don't understand you, which can happen, and it happens to me, if they don't understand it, that means that you have to change the way you present it, right? You have to learn how to adapt to different audiences. If you're not communicating, you don't exist. You are not going to be able to have anyone there to work with you. So as much as you think that the only important thing is the actual product, or being good or being aligned or whatever, you actually need to communicate. And it's awful. I have to say, sometimes I work on projects, and 80% of my time, 90% of my time is focused on actually building the trust and bringing people together, and actually getting to promote the things that we're doing more than actually doing things. And it feels horrible. The last 3.5 years, I think it's almost 4 years already, I've been designing models. I've been trying to think what is the best way for us to do this thing, right? And we have a lot of models. I can share some more if you haven't seen before, and we have a lot of models. And I've been designing them because I thought it was important. If I wanted to talk to the largest organizations in the world, I wanted to help people in really difficult situations, I had to be prepared. So I had to upskill myself, I had to learn new languages, I had to learn about new disciplines, I had to become more able, right? But now that we feel that we have something that can really be useful, now we need to talk to people all the time, right? We need to communicate on social media. We need to talk to media. We need to maybe work with influencers. We need to do events. We need to gather and ask for help. We need to just be very loud, because if you're not loud, if people don't see your branding, your positioning, your ideas, your work, it's going to be impossible to move forward. And one funny phenomena that happens to all of us entrepreneurs, or anyone that is working on projects, is that you're talking about your project all the time, right? So in your mind, that project is kind of like 95% of your brain. And so for you, it's everybody that is not paying attention to you, right? That they are not doing what they should do because what you're doing is amazing and they should come to you, right? Yet the problem is that doesn't work like that. First of all, 99.9% of the global population doesn't know about what you're doing. Almost 100%, right? Most people that are even in your potential client base or potential partner base or whatever it is, they don't know you. They don't know anything about what you are doing. You may have one PowerPoint. They may have seen one slide, not the rest. You may have promoted things on social media and you think they have seen them. Most don't. You have followers on social media. You have 5% of engagement rate, which is 5% of people actually like a post or views a video. That's already okay. Just think about that. So you think, I have 10,000 followers, 1,000 followers, 100 friends, whoever it is that is there is busy. People are busy and people don't know what you're doing yet. And so you have to keep doing it. Sometimes you see some gurus and some people that are incredibly successful, that they have, amazing companies, that they're doing great, that they're helping a lot of people. They may have millions of followers. And one thing that is striking to me many times is that they start every video saying, I am XYZ. And they start talking about their accomplishments all the time, right? And they keep saying, I do this and my story is this, and and they keep self-promoting like crazy. And you think, well, this is not elegant. I don't want to be always promoting myself. It's like, yes, but they know that if that is the first video that someone watches of them, they need to know. So are you sure that the people that you want to work with know you? You want to work for a company. Do the guys and gals of that company know you well? Have they seen you? Have they talked to you? Have they seen your resume? Have they analyzed it? Have they been able to see something more from you, a video, whatever? Most likely, there's just a very, very few people that actually know what you're doing, and they're probably your family and your friends, and they may or may not be able to help you in that way. So that's one of the things that is really striking when you're doing it, because it feels like, well, that everybody should contact you because you're amazing, and it's like, great, but the reality is that you're not that amazing, and more importantly, that if you don't communicate, you are not going to achieve anything. I'm sorry, this is sad, but you can see many times in companies that people say, politics matter inside of a company, right? Or when someone criticizes someone else, or someone takes credit, those things that happen. Well, you have to be careful. You need to be careful with the image you're projecting. And you need to be careful with living by what you are projecting. You need to be careful with what people are doing around you, if they are appreciating your work or not. Many times, they are just not even going to know what you're doing. So if you are taking steps forward and you don't have certainty that the right people know the right things about you, they're not going to be able to do anything. Now, many times you share what you want to do with them and you share the value and everything that you want to do with them, but still, it's not going to be enough. You have to keep improving that presentation for sure, but also the project itself, yourself, upskill, improve all the time, and you just have to keep trying. And I'm going to give you another important element that it's funny that I say it here in our General Assembly, but I think it is vital, and it has been so important for me and for a lot of people that I happen to be lucky enough to coach. Follow-up is extremely important. Now, if you're like me, you don't want to bother people, right? You don't want to be persistent and always be, talking to people and say, hey, I don't know if you saw my last message, right? Problem is, 80% of transactions, sales, opportunities, 80% happen after the 8th follow-up. And what that means is that at the very least, you need to have 8 connections, 8 times of communication with someone to even be in the possibility of actually doing something that you want with them. Now, that doesn't mean that after the 8th follow-up is going to work. That means that if you're expecting someone after sending an email that they have to respond to you, right? That's what you think. And you're expecting that because you sent it, now it's in their, the ball is in their roof, right? So you have to wait until they do something because it's their turn right now. You shared something, now they should review it, very carefully. They should read everything and check every document and then come back to you with a positive response. Well, the engagement, the response rate, the number of people that never respond to you is going to be really, really high. So it's not so much about, well, I sent an email, it's now their turn. It's more something like, am I absolutely convinced that they have seen this, that they have responded, that they know the value? Because if they don't know who you are, then you're never going to be able to move forward. You think that they know because you've sent an email and they have the information in an email? They're never going to go back to that email, most of the cases. And if they go back, they're not going to just go back and say, well, this person that once sent me one message and didn't care enough to be here for longer when I needed this person, now is expecting me to just go back and suddenly say, hey, I want to do business with you, or I want to do whatever with you. That doesn't work like that. So we're going to need to have the follow-up, which is going back. And of course, you have to try to do it in a very polite way, in a very kind way. You have to try to be, valuable to them. And you have to be creative and look for ways to provide, meaning to those interactions, because it's actually useful for them somehow. You have to be patient, but please don't forget that if you don't contact enough, if you're not there for long enough with the people that you really want to work with, it's going to be very, very difficult to close anything. And I'm saying closing, that could be a sell, but that could be your job. That could be the woman of your future. That could be whoever. You need to be there, okay? So now I have a question, and I'm going to try to read it for a second. Give me a sec. So, team inclusion, team building, right team. We have designed organizational objectives and key results that we are funneling. Okay. Tips on creating a cohesive team that can function as autonomously as a founder and CEO. Okay, that is a wonderful question. Thank you so much, Devon from Philtech Institute for Entrepreneurship. Wonderful, wonderful question. So corporate culture is really, really important. And what that means is that if you are going to create a project, whatever it is, you're going to need to have a team at some point, if you're not just working solo, And if you have a team, you're going to have to find what is the kind of culture that we want to have. And depending on the kind of culture that you want to have, you're going to influence the future of the company, what type of employees you're going to attract, how much are they going to stay. Now, we're in a crisis right now of job retention. So a lot of people, get to a job, they don't like the culture and they leave. And if you don't know what corporate culture means, well, it's what are the real values of the company, not only the ones that are promoted. What is the environment here? What is people going to recognize you and support you and help you and understand you if something goes wrong, if you're ill one day, what's going to be the culture, right? And you're asking because you have established very clear goals and KPIs, which is, if you don't know, key performance indicators. Basically, it's setting targets for your team to either accomplish a certain number of sales, accomplish a certain number of activities, get some number of something in any given time, right? So those are the KPIs. Now, well, if you have that kind of a focus, which is sales-driven, growth-driven, then you may have to be also aggressive in the kind of incentives that you're giving in that kind of culture. Now, in our case, for example, it's different. We're a very, very small company. We are like a family, and we want to be a family. Now, of course, I sometimes get impatient or whatever, but I try. And if I'm not doing the job right, it is on me, because people like Marina and Jaime and Angela and Wendy and other people that I have been incredibly privileged to work with over the years, but I really see them as family. Now, is it perfect? Is culture the only thing that matters? Well, you need to have a balance between the value that you provide to your employees as a company, the value that they provide to you, the way they treat you, and the way you treat them, right? And the reality is that as a CEO, you're actually working for your employees, not the other way around. And if you don't know yet, giving someone else work, delegating tasks, delegating projects is extremely, extremely difficult. It is difficult because you may have a very clear idea. It's difficult to articulate it. It's difficult to convey the message so the person understands why you're doing that, or how to do it, or what to do. Right? So it's difficult, but also it takes a lot of time. And what you hear from people is like, you have to delegate, right? Automate and delegate. It's like, yes, great, but it takes a lot of time to delegate once. It takes a huge amount of time to either automate or get systems and ecosystems well put together to actually be able to function without your interventions all the time. So if you think about scalability and you think about what you could make happen even without your intervention, which is a part of your question, well, you need to think all the time, just as I was telling you before, if you're talking to an investor, do they know how amazing you are? If you're talking to an employee or a partner, do they know exactly what is expected from you, or from them, sorry? Do they have everything they need to do it? Are you facilitating that task? And if they do it properly, are you rewarding in it? And if they are not doing it properly, are you going to be there to train them and teach them? You're coaching them. You're trying to help them to be who they want to be and to keep growing as well. Even if they have to leave the company afterwards, you have allies. So you need to coach them, right? And so even if you're working with a complete focus on results and economic output, for example, which is okay, the reality is that you also have to create a culture around it. And there are ways that you can create culture. I'm going to think of some ideas. One of them, you can definitely have a weekly coaching session that you do between you guys, right? So you coach them, they coach you, or you guys can ask the other how they're feeling, how are their lives, and actually put some time into it and be with them. For example, that's one idea. Another idea to do is to build gamification systems, right? Where there are awards and prizes, and there's a pyramid structure where the more people achieve and the more people are the kind of person that you want to have the culture around, the more they receive. So for example, imagine that you want to go about kindness, right? So the kinder people are, the more you reward them, right? And that also works for freelancers as well. You may think that freelancers are machines, but they're human beings as well, right? So even if you want to have a team that is a mix between freelancers and employees, or if you're a freelancer yourself, it is always the same. You are influencer of the culture around you constantly. You're shaping things around you constantly. The more people you talk to, the more people you reach, the more influence you have, the more you have to consider what kind of culture are you creating around you, okay? That's what I would say to that question. So create the environment, the ecosystem, and the kind of value structure and the incentives that can help you to go where you want in a way that is aligned with where they want to go. That's what I would say to that question. Okay, I need to drink water, so give me a second, sorry. Okay, do you have any other questions? I can talk about many things, but I want to be useful today. So anything in particular you would like me to talk about? No. Okay, so I think the next most useful thing that I can share with you guys is going to be a part of skills and a part of systems. So hopefully I will remember this. So regarding skills, a lot of people don't really know what kind of skills are demanded in the market, or what's going to happen with all the shifts that are happening in the job market, or they just don't know of all the things that they want to learn, all the content that they want to learn. What are the things that they should be focusing on? And one of the key elements here is to distinguish between knowledge and skill. And I think that if you don't have a clear sense of the kind of skills that are going to be required in the path that you want to take on, it's going to be very difficult to adapt. And this imposter syndrome that a lot of people have, right? That you feel like you don't belong somewhere because you're not capable enough to do what you're supposed to do in that situation, right? So you want it, but at the same time, you don't feel like you're ready or you're good enough. And the fact of the matter is that has to do purely with skill, right? And knowledge, of course, but it's more a matter of you being able and feeling able more than having any certification, right? And a lot of people think that certifications are the only path towards learning, right? And so they associate the entire idea of education with development. So if I want to develop, I need to go to education in a formal way. So I need to get, for example, a master's, right? You can get a master's, and there are amazing masters out there. But there's many times where you don't want to invest money because you may not have it, or you don't want to take a loan just to get a master's, or maybe that's not the best investment of your time and effort. Also because you may not be able to get exactly the program that you need for the things that you want to accomplish. Why is that? Well, because if you go to a master's degree, that's going to be something pre-packed, right? Something that they have designed with the goal in mind of attracting students that can benefit from it, for sure. But are you exactly like all the other students? Like what you want to do, your abilities? Are you, just like all the others in terms of your personality, equally introvert or extrovert, equally driven towards one or other sector, equally driven towards people or objects? Are you exactly the same like everybody else? I am sure that you are unique, right? You are a very different person. And the only way to really create the plan that works for you, like really the plan that is going to help you in an effective way, is going to be that you create your plan. And that can include a master's, or a university degree, or whatever program, whatever one-day course, whatever training session. All of that is there available for you, especially if you have access to the internet. You have so much that is so useful that you can use to get more prepared and get more ready to do what you want to do, right? And you can think of what you want to accomplish, which is the first part of what we have been discussing today. Where are you going? What would be ideal in your life? What type of job in what kind of country, in what kind of sector, whatever it is. And then once you know it, you can guess what are skills and knowledge that you should have. So if, for example, you want to work in, let's say, entrepreneurship, some of the things that we've been talking about are important, right? This idea of communication and sales and relations, all of those things are important. But there are so many other skills that are going to be important. And the one that I would recommend you all is resourcefulness, which means to always be ready to look for a way to solve your problem. You don't know most things, and you will never know most things. You are incredibly ignorant. We all are. But you can know more things as you go, and you can find the right answers to your questions. So instead of just thinking, I'm going to do a master and then I'm going to be ready to do whatever, I would suggest that you are first thinking, well, in order to achieve my long-term goals, because I want to be a politician, because I want to work in an NGO, I want to work in tourism industry, I want to do work in the environment. Whatever you want to do, think, what would be the job like? What would be my life like? What would be my day? And in order to do that, you can ask people that are more or less in situations like that, right? People that are working in those fields, people that have experience working in those particular companies. You can watch YouTube videos, you can read articles, you can read comments on all kinds of social media, but also you can talk to people and ask them, okay, in order to become someone close to what you're doing and someone close to you, what does it take? What are the skills? Is it public speaking? Well, I would say you always going to need it. Is it maybe digital skills for you to actually grow? Do you need to use the computer and your phone to do anything you do? Well, it's pretty likely that you will need some of those, right? But also financial skills, right? Or data literacy, or coding, or any skill that you believe has to do with your goals, you should try to achieve it. And by the way, everybody that is here, if you can and you're willing to take on a challenge, if you learn how to code, you're guaranteed to have a job. There's a shortage of people that can program all over the world. So if you really want to make sure that you have one sort of tool, skill, knowledge that can really help you to find opportunities, well, coding is definitely one of those, right? But as I was telling you before, the key is to kind of like picture what would it make sense, right? I'm going to tell you a story about myself. When I started in journalism, I didn't know anything about what I wanted to do. I kind of like knew that I wanted to work in international relations, kind of, but I was not really sure. And so, but I knew that, for example, skills like doing video, right, or taking photography, or doing graphic design, or being able to speak to the camera, or all those things were going to be useful. Now, it's not that I was particularly talented at any of those, or that I was particularly driven to them. They were around me and seemed to me that it would be useful for me to be able to do those things. Same thing with languages. I thought that it would be useful for me to learn Chinese, for example, and English, obviously. And when I learned Chinese, I was able to meet my wife, and now we're gonna have an amazing daughter. And so you need to know what kind of skills seem to be useful for what you want to be doing in the future. And if you think that it is going to require some sort of speaking and communicating skill, then you should definitely try to improve in that space. And you may say that you don't know how to do that. And then that's why I go back to the skill of resourcefulness. You go and Google it. You go and look for it in YouTube. Check, how do I do this? Tutorials. There's courses that are available for free. You want to learn how to code in Python? You have an 8-hour tutorial for free that is absolutely spectacular. And if I was not I would say, so immersed in all the activities that we're doing right now, I would absolutely go and devour that so I could code and I could create much more scalable solutions directly myself without the need of other people as well, right? So think about those skills. And what I was telling you about my story is that I was training those things, right? I was in my room, I would try to buy cables that would allow me to do crazy things. And one of the things that is so inspiring for me to just be here today is when I was 18, 19 years old, I bought a chroma key, a green screen, and I put it on my room, and I was trying to see if I was able to remove the background. That you do with Zoom, that you can remove the background, or that a lot of people have a green screen behind. Well, I was practicing that when I was 18, 19 years old. I didn't know for what. I didn't know what was the point. I just knew that video seemed to be something, social media seemed to be something, communication seemed to be something, things that seemed to be useful. Now I am in an amazing studio, thanks to Global Alumni, and I am in a green screen right now with you guys. And a lot of the things that we're doing in WIA required all of these skills, especially resourcefulness, because no one tells you what is exactly the path forward, but you can definitely imagine what are the pieces of content and skill that are going to be useful for you. And the reason why I wanted to distinguish between content and skill is because even if you know the theory of something, or even if you know the practice of something, you go there and you have to execute whatever it is, a balance sheet, something on whatever document. You need to organize something with your teammates in Google Docs, whatever it is. Even if it's a very small, trivial thing, it is actually a skill. And I was reviewing what are the skills that are going to be needed in the future and how many skills do we need, right, in order to survive when you have 2 billion people that need upskilling or reskilling right now. And so I was thinking, like, what is exactly the amount of upskilling that we need to do? Because I keep learning new things all the time, and it seems to me that it's never enough. Well, that's exactly the point. It's not like it's not enough for you to just learn what you learn. Is that you can always learn more, and the world is going to change around you enough that you're going to have to change skills at some point. And so what I realized is that it was not just a couple of things that you needed to learn, or that I needed to learn. It was hundreds. Small things, but hundreds. And when you have a team, or when you hire someone, or when you're working with someone, and for example, you know how to do something and they don't know how to do it, and then you kind of get frustrated because you think, well, you just click here or click there or do whatever, right? It seems so easy for you. Yeah, of course, you just have to do whatever mathematical equation. It's easy. You know how to do it. The other person doesn't. And so when you're talking to others, you realize how many of those skills you've been able to master with your own path that are not so obvious. Okay, so skills are going to matter, and there are many of them. I suggest that you think carefully, what skills would it make sense for me to have? And I'm going to share with you the way I do it, which is, not that it's perfect, but it's something that I have shared with a lot of people all over the world, and they truly like it. So if you want kind of like the templates that I have for these, I have it, and I will share them with you. I call it Individual Development Operative System, IDOS. And it's going to be a part of our tech startup that we will build in the future. But for now, it's an Excel sheet, so it's nothing, okay? Cool. So if you have ever played a video game, or if you have ever seen a video game, you know that normally you have a character that has a certain level, right? So the character level is very high, and then that character is stronger and faster and more able to deal with all the monsters that appear on their path towards their mission, right? Well, that's exactly your life. That's exactly the way your life works. You need to improve your character, improve your level, so you're more prepared and you have more resources and weapons and better capacities to deal with the monsters, challenges, and problems that you're going to face in order to go to fulfill your mission. It's the same. And so what I do is I keep track of it. Now, you can be crazy and have hundreds of them like me, or you can decide to have just a few of them, but you can keep track of them. So the way I do it is I just have the skills that I believe are useful, the pieces of knowledge that I think, or the fields of knowledge that I should be more able to deal with, all the things that I consider that I have to change of myself, or the things that I am not aligned with, or the things that I believe I could do better, all of that is there displayed, and it has levels. Now, those levels are subjective. You can have someone else to help you grade yourself, but that doesn't really matter. The most important thing is that you have the certainty that you do have some skills that are pretty good, and there are other spaces that you're not as strong. And then you can decide if that skill is really going to be important, then you can invest on that. If you think that you don't need that skill, then you can focus on another thing. I'll give you an example. So one of the skills that I realized that was going to be very important for me was languages. And so I have pushed myself with languages. I speak a couple, and basically I have developed a model that allows me to learn faster. And one of the things that I realized in the beginning is that any skill and any language and any field is infinite. It's just so big that you're never going to be able to master the whole thing. Never, right? No one has ever mastered that to a point, right? And something to that point. In fact, if you start digging into any topic, or you start trying to master a skill, even if you're the world champion on something, still someone also will replace you, and they will be able to do things that you don't do, and you will get old and you will not be able to do those things, for example, right? If you are talking about sports. So the key question is, what are the minimum amount of things that I need to learn so I can learn fast enough with the minimum amount of effort and investment from my side, so I can get to the best position to use this, okay? So I call that getting to the viability point of a certain skill. So for example, if you're talking about a language, you're gonna need to constrain what you're learning. You're gonna try to constrain, first of all, the number of languages, and also the amount of words and structures and the amount of even, it could be expressions. You have to limit it, because you're never going to become completely native in another language. And native people are not ever going to master the whole language neither. And there's gonna be other dialects and other ways of speaking and other things, okay, that you're never going to be able to say. So constrain what you're learning. In my case, I wanted to learn Chinese in order to be able to communicate fast. The same thing with Arabic, that I am not there yet, but I'm on it. The same thing with video skills, same thing with speaking skills. Everything that I learn, I try to learn to a point in which I feel confident to do it without thinking too much. I just go do it. I make mistakes. I am awful at many things, but I got to the viability point, right? And for example, with the language learning, if you want to learn everything at the same time, and you go with grammar and this and the other, many times what happens is that you overwhelm yourself. You're just not focused with the specific kind of content that is going to be useful for you, and then you never get to the viability point of you really using that. So instead of just being all over the place, it's better to focus. And there's the Pareto rule distribution that is amazing, because it's 20% of the effort lead to 80% of the results. 20% of words are 80% of the language, and that applies to almost every field. So focus on that 20% that is really going to make a difference in your ability to get to that viability point, to the point in which you can use it. Are you going to be perfect? No. Should you try to be perfect? I don't think so. And if you're aiming to becoming a world leader in something, a world, the world record holder of whatever thing, great. But still, you're going to have to focus there as well, because you cannot be the best running, for example, long distances and short distances, because even your body is going to be different, right? So what I'm trying to encourage you to do is to see yourself as a character of a video game that is in continuous development, that is not ever going to be finished. So it's not like you have already finished your school, your university, or whatever, or you have worked and you're done. No, you're not. You're just starting many things. You have more experience than before, but you still suck at many things, and it's fine. Just keep moving forwards and keep learning the kind of skills and the kind of information that is going to really help you to go to the next level in whatever you're trying to accomplish. This, can you say in the chat if I am making sense, if you're with me, guys, if you want me to change subjects, is it okay? And I see that we have a question as well. But please, I need some interaction, because I cannot see you physically, and I need to know if I am well aligned with you guys. Thank you so much, Rachel, for your support. Okay, so we have Sylvester from Liberia. He says that he's inspired, and I am thankful for that. Can I talk about grants writing for an NGO? Oh my God, that is huge. That is something that is really, really important. And if some of you don't know what we're talking about here is, there are grants which are public opportunities, calls for proposals that have certain requirements and that you have to work really hard to complete, and that if you don't feel, if it's not completely correct, you're out. And if it's perfectly correct, but there's competition and they win, you're out. So the strategy for grant proposal writing is really important. But this is not only for NGOs, so I'm going to make it complete. I'm just going to drink a little bit. So grants, I have to say that I hate them, okay? So the first thing is, you need to have a grant preparedness kit. It's like this idea that you know that you're offering whatever service, whatever value, you're tackling whatever problem, and you want to apply to grants of the local government, the foundation of a company, you want to apply for grants of the European Union, whatever fund it is, whatever public fund, it's going to require you to fill a grant normally, right? And also, there's going to be times in which you're going to need to do that also for private companies as well. That they're gonna expect from you that you do it in that way. So what do they expect from you? Well, they expect a lot. Okay, they expect a lot of experience. They expect a lot of to have a solution that is very, very, very concretely directed towards the problem that they're trying to address. They're trying to see what is the best combination of the attributes that they care about. And what they care about many times is also security, right? They don't want to have the risk that someone is going to do the job badly and then there's going to be a problem, right? Imagine that they are trying to provide help to people in a local community, and you say that you're going to do it and you do it badly and someone gets hurt or whatever and there's no insurance. So that is a problem, and there's a liability for them. So they want to do things in a way that is as secure as possible for them. But again, this is something that works for all of us, because at some point you're going to have to do proposals, right? It doesn't matter if it's a proposal for a company, a proposal for an investor, a proposal for a wedding, or a proposal for a grant. Okay, so the preparedness kit that I was telling you is the following. What I'm trying to do. Okay, check the kind of grants that you're interested in. What organizations, what types of funds, what kind of projects are there. And the first thing that you have to do is to make sure that you have a really good offer that can align with those calls for proposals. Okay, so if you have a value proposition that really aligns, or a couple of value propositions that you can have one for these grants and one for those grants, it would be very useful, and this is how I suggest all of you to do it, is to first check what are the things that are expected from you, right? So for example, you go check several requests for proposals and several grants, documentations, and you're going to see exactly what they're asking for. Okay, so they're going to say, you need to be a company that has this amount of employees, or you have to be someone that has already done this or that, or you have to have in the bank account X amount of money, or you have to have whatever number of years of experience, or you have to have a partner or several partners and form a collaboration with others. So together you present your proposal. Okay, so you need to see what are the requirements, because they're going to influence everything, and you should write for that. Same way that you should study when you have, for example, an exam, and you may know a lot about the topic, but if you don't respond how the teacher expects you to, then that doesn't work for the grade, right? So if you want the grade, in this case, if you want to be able to apply for a grant and be in a position in which you could potentially get that opportunity for you, then you are going to need to be prepared to have the documentation ready, the one that they're going to ask for. So what I suggest is you go over several and kind of you aggregate all the different requirements they have. So they say, okay, they need this amount of employees, and you don't have them, you know that you can't go for those ones. They ask for this kind of documentation. Well, you can work on it, or certifications, whatever it is, you can work on those things so you're ready. So whenever there's a call for proposals, you can jump in right in, because you already have the project, right? You know what you're offering. You know the solution that you have, and you're just going to jump there and say, this is my solution, this is my organization, this is my NGO, this is my service company. It works, right? So if you know exactly, what are they normally asking for, you're not going to be caught off guard. Many times what happens is that you see the call for proposals, and they ask for so many things that you don't have or that you have not worked for, that you're kind of like, in a position that you cannot even try. So what I suggest is to put some alarms. There are systems and alarms and Google Alerts and others to make sure that every time there's a new grant in that field, in that space, with those words, in those aspects, you can be notified. But also that you do a proactive work instead of expecting the grant to come to you, that you basically do all the research you can about all the grants that you can, so you can apply and you present the proposal. And if you need to have some partner for that, you keep building those partnerships that are going to help. That makes sense, Sylvester. All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have talked about the upskilling part. We have talked about the strategy. We have talked about the need for connections. But now we're also going to touch the digital part, because digital systems are going to be in your life and in your projects, you like it or not. Thank you, Sylvester. They're going to be in your life no matter what. You're going to need, to be in a position in which you are so well versed on the different tools and systems that exist that you could actually accomplish anything just because you have the right tools with you, and you can connect with those tools with the people that you need. Okay, so I'm gonna say what I mean by that. If you check your phone, you're gonna see a lot of apps, right? There's a lot of different things that do a lot of different functionalities, right? You have maybe Google Drive, or maybe you have the calendar, or maybe you have Microsoft Word and Excel, and you have tons of different tools there that you use more or less, right? You could be using Canva to edit video, or Adobe, right? Or you could be using tools to track your fitness activities. You could have apps to track whatever results you're achieving with your company. There's I don't know if it's millions. I assume that it's millions. I think it's 3 million apps on the App Store right now, and plenty more functionalities out there, right? So it is a complex environment. There's a lot of tools, right? Now, it is overwhelming because it is impossible to check them all, but it is true that they can be really useful, and they have been incredibly useful in my career, okay? So to manage projects, to create new initiatives, to keep track of my tasks, to make sure that I am in a position in which, our workflow allows us to accomplish more with less. Because there are great tools, and there are automation tools, and there are a lot of really cool things that we can do when we know how to use those softwares or those systems. And there are ways to integrate them so they work for you, but it requires time. It requires some effort and some knowledge about them. So for example, if you don't know a lot about how to use Zoom and how to create Zoom meetings and events and things like that, well, probably you should, just like you should with Microsoft Teams and with other tools that are available, because you're going to need them. No matter who you are, you're going to need to have video calls with people in the future. Same way that you're going to need to have some sort of calendar management, right? To deal with your own calendar, deal with calendars of your organizations, or just to send invites to other people. You're going to need to be good with email. I'm not a fan of email, and everybody that knows me knows that I really don't like it. I prefer direct communication through WhatsApp, for example, or whatever tool. But the reality is that emails are very important in your career, in your projects. You're going to have to send a lot of emails and even newsletters and things like that. So if you are incredibly versed at using the email correctly, then congratulations. Probably there are tools that you don't know yet. But if you're not, you definitely should, right? Emails, newsletters, and then one aspect that has been spoken about today as well is social media. Are you capable of using social media for your own purposes? Are you capable of promoting projects, initiatives, events whatever you're selling or trying to bring people to work in, raise funds, whatever you're trying to do, you're going to need to promote it. You're going to use social media most likely. And the better you use it, the more people are going to see it, the more people are going to engage it with it. But you need to know a lot about it, right? So those are specific skills that have to do with the digital world that are 100% going to be useful for you. And when you see, for example, the connections that we can make with other people, well, LinkedIn is incredibly powerful. And if you're not working on LinkedIn, if you don't have a profile on LinkedIn, if you're not engaging with people on LinkedIn, I think that you're really missing a huge opportunity. And a lot of the things that I have done in my life have to do with my presence in spaces and social networks and my willingness to connect with people that may be strangers, or to respond to people because you never know. And suddenly people that you didn't expect that were going to help you in any way, suddenly they give you a great opportunity, or you're able to help them and you're happy about it. It's fine. The whole point is that social media, both for promotion and sharing and dissemination, but also for creating the right friendships, alliances, connections, and even very long-lasting friendships that are really going to mark your life, they are really useful. Now, do you use them properly? Like, do you know all the tools, all the different things that you can do with them? Do you know how to optimize the way you present information in the different fields that you have? There are some elements there, right? And you may say, Carlos, this is overwhelming. You're giving me too many tasks. Well, if you think about it, I'm not. I'm just saying, okay, LinkedIn, useful. Email, useful. Google Calendar or whatever calendar application, useful. I'm just saying these things are going to be useful. Many of them you already know. I'm just giving you the picture about the importance of these tools in your lives. Because they're useful, you have an extra level of attention. I just want you to be alert to the possibility that the reason why you're not advancing faster or fast enough, or you're not getting where you want, may be because you're not using those tools in the best way you could. And that happens, So the understanding of the importance and usefulness of these tools is really going to help you, just because you're going to be more alert. And if someone says, hey, I found this new app that does this and can help you this or whatever, just pay attention. Just like if someone tells you to be careful with something, please be careful, because it may be a problem. But if you're alert and you're willing to learn how to use these tools, you can do so much more. In fact, you can work on different projects with different organizations from your room. In fact, we are all together today, and we're not in the same physical space. And we could be developing projects together perfectly well. In fact, we will. And we don't need to be together, right? I mean, it's better if we can see each other in the real world. But this is a really cool tool, right? And if you think about how we got to connect, I mean, myself with you guys, probably if it's not LinkedIn, it's email. If it's not email, it's whatever friend, someone else. But you have to know about this because of some reason. Maybe I just wrote you a message. For example, I'm seeing friends that I said directly, I love your work, I would love to connect. And here we are, So digital skills, social media platforms, LinkedIn, everything that has to do with productivity and task management, and the combination of those tools that are there that if you don't know much about them, they're kind of like useless, and they're sitting in your phone or whatever. And then you go and watch a YouTube tutorial on any of those, right? You just go and say, how to use properly whatever tool. Or even better, you see workflow for something. And so what you see is people explaining to you how they do video production, a marketing agency, how they do a proposal for a company, how they prepare for an interview. It doesn't matter what skill it is, you just go and search on YouTube, Google, whatever. And with those searches, you're gonna find a lot of amazing content that is going to guide you. You don't need to know, they know, they're promoting themselves as well, but they're providing a lot of value to you. So go get that content and make sure that you keep upskilling and you keep learning. And the faster you know these things, the more able you're going to be to adapt to the market, to create opportunities for you, to actually get the jobs that you want. you're going to be much more meaningful and useful for these companies. If you say, hey, I have experience doing all these things, I have done all these things, even if it's for free, I have. So I think it is very, very powerful. Okay, I'm trying to read more comments, and I would love to make sure that, well, first of all, I see one person that says, I am terrible at sharing on social media. It's normal because it requires a lot of knowledge about how to optimize, right? What is the best way to do it? And many times if you post and it doesn't work, you kind of get disengaged, right? And you think, well, this is not working, so who cares, right? That really happens. Sometimes you may be not constant, and social media requires a lot of, determination and very long-term strategies, right? And we have done strategies for clients, and we have done projects, for example, with more than 100 influencers with 130 million combined followers. And yet we didn't have social media accounts active, So it is a lot of work. It is difficult. It requires skills, but it is there, and it is a great tool for all of us to use. Okay, so again, this is not only about social media. This is about the possibilities that you can open if you know about these different tools. And one example, this is a pro tip, but guys, if you want to go deep, this is a really, really cool tip. It's called Zapier, and it allows you to automate tasks based on the connection of different apps. So you can say, every time that I arrive home, I want my smart light to open, or every time that I receive an email from this client, I want to include it in my CRM, that if you don't know what it is your database of the people that you work with or your clients or whatever it is. Every time that I, for example, I see an alert of a grant, then I want to have a task that says, do the analysis of this grant to see if I can fit or not, for example. You see? Same thing, like every time that someone adds me on LinkedIn, I want to have a task to go and talk to them and maybe have a meeting with them or whatever it is. So you can have these workflows that are difficult to build in general, but then you use these tools and make it so simple. You just say, when this thing happens, I would like this to happen. There's so many tools to help you with either your studies, if you're studying, or whatever work you're doing. And even there are opportunities for you to become freelancers on platforms like Fiverr, freelancer.com, and others, or to hire freelancers. And you can work with more people. You don't have to have a very large team, but you can collaborate with people and make sure that you're able to go forward with, obviously, the resources that you have, because you're not going to have unlimited resources. Okay, so Zapier, it's Zapier, which is an automating tool. But again, the problem is not that tool. The cool thing about that one is that it connects all the other tools. And I just want you to be always aware of the possibility of having a system that does whatever you're doing faster. And even automatically, there's a lot of things that you can really automate. Just imagine if you have your own business. Every time you receive an email, there's a task, then you have, when you wake up, you have an alert of that particular task. And then when you fill whatever information, then you have an automated pre-proposal or a pre-meeting request that you can send to the person. So you can just go much more, much faster, because there's a lot of things that can happen. Now, building automations that are very complex is difficult, but you have the possibility of really building very, very complex structures that allow you to do things that you would need maybe a team of 50 people with 3 people. And I am not exaggerating at all. The potential is that big. So make sure that you learn all those skills and to at least be alert to the possibility. And we have a question, I think, from Rachel Mitchell.
Hi, Carlos, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, good. I just wanted to add, I love all that you're sharing with us. And I just wanted to add, when it comes to social media, you don't necessarily have to post your own content. The power of connecting online is a lot to do with engagement. And what a lot of people are not aware of is that before I started to be active on social media, I was very much already someone who was engaging with a lot of companies and innovators and people in sustainability space as well. And I continued to do that during the pandemic, which grew a following. But what I think is very important is to know that you have access on these great platforms, whether it be LinkedIn or other social media platforms, where you can engage with people who are posting content about innovation and companies and collaborations that you would like for your own initiatives. And a way to give to them is simply to even comment on their post about these things that you have aligned. And that creates a connection right there. So be very generous in the way you engage online and the way you engage, especially on LinkedIn, in terms of commenting on posts. It has created incredible friendships for me and incredible alliances and businesses that I've been a part of over this past year, record breaking, because of simply reaching out and engaging, and also engaging in content that is not even business related as well, that is about the human connection, about our universality. It's the reason why I knew that Carlos and I were already aligned in terms of values, because of things that he shared as well online. So I just encourage everyone to engage by commenting on social media posts and to connect with as many people that are aligned with you as possible.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rachel, for that. That is really, really important, guys. It's a wonderful contribution. It is not always about just posting and trying to become a content creator like she is, because she has 800,000 followers and even more. So obviously, it's not only about the promotion capabilities that it has. It's also about the connections, that just one connection can change your life. And this is something that I would like to really take into consideration. Just one client, one partner, one friend, one person can really change your life. I would like you to give it up, for example, for Marina, that is still here. She's been here, preparing the whole event with me all the time. Just incredible. She was working up to really, really late in the night, and she's still here. And I wanted you to just give it up for her for a second, because I am just so grateful to her. And one of the things is that we connected because of the possibilities that bring, the internet and the building of relationships that you never know. You never know. You get to know a person, and then that person, works in a university, for example, and then they offer you the possibility of working with interns. And suddenly you get to know a person that becomes really, really important in your projects and in your life as well. Right, and that's the case for Marina. That's the case for Jaime, that is our design lead, and that happens all the time. Sometimes you just work with what you have, and just by using the right tools, just by being willing to connect and to engage with others, your entire life changed for the better. And I have to say that even the relationship that I have even with my wife started also because of these things. So it is really, really powerful. Guys, I think there's no more questions. So I'm going to wrap it up unless someone has anything to say. For me, I think today has been a very, very important initiative that we have launched, and a very important historic moment in our lives. But also I think it has been a good opportunity for us to connect and to get to know each other. I hope that I have provided some value to you. And if there's anything I can do to support more in the future, do let me know. You have my details, but if you need them, you just can find me on LinkedIn as well. You can send me an email to carlos.sentis@wia.world. I'm available for everyone. And let us keep working together, okay? Hope that this was useful, and I want to thank you all so much for everything. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Thank you. It means a lot. It means a lot, really. It means a lot.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you.
God, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much.
Genuinely, thank you so much, everybody. It's been a fantastic event just to share in these views and get a greater understanding of what you guys are doing. Thank you very much. Looking forward to potential points of collaboration in the future. Stay safe, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Carlos, for this great.
Vamos para atrás, directamente ya. Thank you so much, Amit. Thank you so much, Ahmad. Thank you so much to all the students. Thank you so much to RIMPUNET. Thank you so much to Global Alumni for allowing to use this space. Thank you to all the team. Thank you to my wife that she's been working so hard as well today. And we're here together. You know, this is something that we're gonna start this journey together, but we have a long-term collaboration, and we're gonna be here to support you. Thank you so much. And thank you to Javi, to Miguel, to Luis, to Pedro, and to Nicolas, and then to everybody in Global Alumni, and to Pablo Rivas, the founder. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.